Imagine a graceful gondolier gliding down a canal, singing romantically. You'd think you're in Venice. Well, no, you're in China, the province of Jiangsu, where we'll feature a series of historic water towns. Jiangsu, water towns lined with buildings of character, canals filled with the sounds of paddling singers. Chinese opera began right here. Silk is big. It's been woven here for centuries. Classic gardens, traditional garments, masterful performances, all to be found and more in the water towns of Jiangsu. Jiangsu, a vibrant modern province. It's one of China's leading provinces in terms of finance, education, technology and tourism. The latest in modern hotels and facilities. It's a province abuzz with the latest in fashion and design, and yet it also has a fabulously old-world charm in some quarters, as we're about to discover. There is so much water in Jiangsu, canals, lakes, deltas, rivers. Well, COVID restrictions mean I can't travel there from Australia, but I am amiably represented by an Aussie producer, Amy Lyons. Amy, certainly an abundance of water there.
Yes, it is. There is an abundance of water here in Jiangsu, and it's influenced everything from the local cuisine, the architecture, the town planning, as well as the prosperity of the region. So back in the day, this region saw a lot of trade thanks to all of these canals, much like the one we're on now. So as a result, it brought a lot of prosperity to the region, as well as these water towns that sprung up to service this trade route.
You're obviously on the water there, Amy, but where exactly?
So I am in the lovely water town of Zhouzhuang. It's known as China's first water town and arguably China's most popular water town. And it's popular for a reason. It's absolutely gorgeous. We have waterside cafes and eateries. We have ancient stone bridges, paved alleyways, water behind us here. It's wonderful.
So, Amy, what is the definition of a water town?
So a water town is exactly what it sounds like, Greg. It is a town on the water. And here in Jiangsu, there are so many of them. That's because that back in the day, these ancient water canals saw a lot of trade. So these water towns sprung up to service these trade routes. And that's why there are a lot of water towns here in Jiangsu. There are still many, many water towns. The water towns that existed back then are still here today. Modern technology, infrastructure and transport routes have made them obsolete, but they're still booming, and that's due to a little thing called tourism. There are a lot of people that want to come here and enjoy the beautiful scenic views.
Not only an abundance of water, but an abundance of bridges. 14 in this lovely town alone, all built many centuries ago. No roads, just canals. So does it resemble Venice?
In many ways, yes. We have these gondolas, we have the gondola drivers. A lot of them also sing as well. And I've just learned that the reason they sing is because back in the day, they were often fishermen that drove these boats. And they would sing when they came back into the water town because they had had a tiring day and they were happy to be home with whatever fish they had caught that day. So when they sing, it's because they're happy.
Amy's boat lady is happy enough indeed to let Amy take control.
I have no idea how she can make it go where she wants it to go. And she's still helping me. This is not easy. But it's fun.
But Amy, can you sing? Off the water, onto the streets of Zhouzhou. A colourful parade is underway to celebrate a public holiday this day, a holiday to mark Mid-Autumn. Traditional customs are honoured here with the three major dances, including the swing boat dance and the picking flower basket dance. Dancers are dressed in the traditional dress of the Han people, taking part in a celebration that will end later with a spectacular light show. One of the delights of Suzhou are the delicious snacks on offer.
So this is a really popular street snack here. On the outside it's glutinous rice, on the inside it's red bean. I'm really keen to try. Oh my gosh, amazing. 谢谢, 谢谢. Check this out. So many gorgeous street snacks. They look absolutely gorgeous. I know the perfect place to eat this, over tea.
The tea house Amy refers to specialises in Apo tea.
It's said that a trip to Zhejiang isn't complete until you try Apo tea, which means granny's tea, which isn't so much a type of tea, but more of a way of lifestyle. You come here, you have some tea. This one here is green tea with some jasmine inside. You have some snacks. You do some little handicrafts, as my new friends are doing over here. Listen to some music. It's basically afternoon tea.
The crafts include tiny shoes, sewn on site and sold to the big groups of Chinese travellers who visit this town. The music we're being serenaded to today is known as pingtang, a form of music very popular here in Jiangsu. We'll hear more of this in another Watertown later in this program. One final food treat in Zhejiang, stewed pig's trotters. This is Zhejiang's most famous dish, known as wonton stewed pig's feet.
So a trip to Zhejiang isn't complete without trying the local dish. This is wonton stewed pork knuckle. It is huge and it looks amazing and it smells even better. Okay, so I'm also going to try some of this fatty piece, which is actually one of the highlights of this dish. Apparently it's just going to be super juicy. Oh wow. It just melts in my mouth. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. If you come here, you need to try this.
That evening, Zhejiang takes on a very special aura. The canals and surrounding buildings are aglow with festive lights, strung up for the Mid-Autumn Festival. And the crowds have come out in force, packing the streets to celebrate. Zhejiang, Jiangsu's foremost water town. Jiangsu's next picturesque water town is the ancient settlement of Shengdeng. This is known as the town of 1,000 lamps, and Amy is on the spot.
It is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if you can see behind me here, but we have the most gorgeous bridge reflected in the water here. We've got the architecture on both sides of the river here. We have the canals, we have the winding alleyways. It's a beautiful place to be right now.
Amy, one prominent landmark overlooking you is a Buddhist pagoda known as the Qingfen Pagoda. It's 1,500 years old. Quite some history there.
Just how old is Qiandang? 那Qiandang有几百年的历史呢？
千灯有2500年的历史。
Wow, 2,500 years of history.
Amy's talking to Gao Min, a local historian, and she's about to plant a ribbon on a tree which is 1,000 years old.
So on these ribbons here, there are different wishes, all different kinds of wishes. We've got some, you know, for safety, for health, for money, for working, and it's basically just to wish luck. So we're actually going to do one today. We've prepared one earlier, and we're going to put it on the tree.
But the big point of difference is opera. This town is where Chinese opera began.
Qiandang here is the birthplace of Kunchu opera, which is the mother of all Chinese opera styles. It has a history of 600 years, and a lot of the stories that you see portrayed on this stage are to do with love stories, also traditional Chinese stories and tales.
Backstage at the show Amy is attending, she has a chance to speak to one of the performers.
哎，你好，美女，你演得特别特别好。
谢谢谢谢谢谢。
I was just talking to one lady who says she's been studying since she was 10 years old. She's now 25 years old, so she's had 15 years of experience, and it wasn't until she had at least 10 years of experience she could actually start performing on the stage for a live audience.
All that training on display today. The mother of all operas from Shending, 600 years in the making. Moving on to another of Jiangsu's Watertowns, Luja. This is a town with so many bridges, more bridges than anywhere else in Jiangsu province.
Yes, that's right. Luja ancient town here has over 70 bridges, and they often call it the Museum of Bridges.
And so many different styles of bridges.
Yes, that's right. And from all different dynasties. We have some from the Song dynasty, Ming dynasty, Qing dynasty. There are bridges from all different time periods here in Luja. It has 2,500 years of history, and a lot of the architecture that you can see here has looked like this for 1,000 or more years.
So away from the water, away from the canals, they also grow a famous plant, Amy, radishes.
Yeah, so Luja here is super famous for their pickled radishes, but they're no ordinary pickled radishes. They actually take over 10 months to make and have over 50 steps involved. These are really well known, they're award winning, and at this stage it's an intangible cultural heritage of this region, these pickled radishes.
Amy, I have to ask you about your clothes. You're wearing a traditional costume from there in Luja.
I am, and I feel really honoured to be able to wearing the traditional costume from Luja. This is what the women of the area, the working women, would wear. And it is very eye-catching, it's very beautiful, it's very colourful, but it served a practical purpose. Every single part of this costume has a reason for why it's there and why it looks like that.
So you're wearing those traditional clothes. How is it to wear?
It's really nice. It's very airy. It's quite hot here today, so it feels very breezy to wear. And a part of the reason why is because back in the day, the women would be working in the fields or doing the daily chores, doing really, really hard work. So they needed something breathable, something that would be comfortable. And I can confirm it's very comfortable. And a fun fact about this clothing as well is you can see here half of it is red, half of it is blue, and it kind of has patches in different areas along the top here. And the reason for that is during the daily activities and work, it was easy to break certain areas of this clothing, such as the elbows here. So it's made in patches so that it would be very easy to be repaired, but still look nice.
As local guide Lu Zen explains, there were special clothes for special occasions, such as coming of age.
On her 13th birthday, she would wear puffy hair, a headcloth, trim her eyebrows, and shave her face.
Special clothing too after women got married.
The bride had to be subservient to her mother-in-law after she got married.
One final feature in Luja, the statues of arahats. 9 statues in all, exaggerated sculptures of Buddhist monks from the Tang dynasty in a temple built in 500 BC. With water as the theme in this program, we're off to one of Jiangsu's biggest waterways, Lake Tai. Now, Amy, this is just so big.
Yes, very big lake. Actually, this city is all about the water. You've got the Yangtze running through it, the Grand Canal also running through it, and here we have Lake Tai, which is actually the 3rd biggest freshwater lake in China. It's absolutely massive. It is 2,400 square kilometers, and inside would fit 4 Singapores, 2 Hong Kongs, and I think someone just said 3 New York cities.
So the Chinese love visiting that lake, eh?
Yeah, well, these days it's a major source of tourism. A lot of people come here and walk along the banks or go on boat rides. It's a very peaceful place, but back in the day it had a function. It supplied a lot of water for farming of rice locally, and that brought a lot of prosperity to the city. Also, a lot of fish farming happened here.
So fishing's now banned in Lake Tai, but the restaurants still serve up the freshest of fish from other waterways.
So tender. Everything is just so fresh. Delicious.
Lake Tai is also the site of one of the world's biggest Buddhist statues. It stands at the Lingshan Temple on the northern banks of the lake, with mountains behind, giving it a fantastic feng shui. The statue is 88 metres tall, with the palm of the hand spanning 5.5 metres. The Lingshan Temple was built over a 3-year period and completed just before the turn of the century, with the original temple dating back to the Tang dynasty. One final experience around Lake Tai, a workshop specialising in clay figurines.
Yes, so this region is actually really famous for its clay figurines. It's made from this. This is black mud found at the base of Mount Huishan, and it's not too hard, it's not too soft, which makes it perfect for figurines. So we are going to put this into the mold and make our figurine shape first. 真的很好看。这个很难学吗？
Amy is working with the skilled artisan Master Yu.
这2块的功底要求非常高。它因为本身。
He's carrying on a craft that originated in the Ming dynasty almost 400 years ago. It all began when farmers filled in time during their slow seasons to mould the black clay found here into intricate figures. The shaping is at times ingenious, and the colours they're adorned with bright and beautiful. The figurines are now amongst China's most famous folk handicrafts and are displayed at museums all over China. Our next water town is Suzhou. It has so many attractive features: silk, gardens and stunning canals.
Yes, Suzhou is gorgeous. It's very famous for its water and its canals. It was actually dubbed the Venice of China by Marco Polo because of all the crisscrossing canals and all the bridges. It's absolutely gorgeous, and for that reason it's a really big tourist destination, so sometimes you have to battle your way through people taking selfies to get a good shot of yourself with the surrounding landscape.
So Amy, does it resemble Venice?
In some ways, yes. You've got the gondolas that go up and down the river all the time, people taking little pleasure cruises. So in that respect, it is very similar to Venice, but in other ways it isn't. The architecture is very different. It's definitely a Chinese vibe. We are in China.
And Amy, why were those water canals built in the first place?
So there are a lot of rivers in China that run from west to east, but not as many waterways connecting the north and the south. So the canals were built in general to give that communication line, transportation line to the north.
Fair enough, but it's also known as the City of Gardens.
So here in Suzhou, 19 of them are open to the public. 9 of those are extremely famous and World Heritage listed. And this one here that we're standing in today, the Humble Administrator's Garden, is arguably the most popular, but it's also the biggest of them all. These gardens in Suzhou were meant to replicate the natural scenery. So in these gardens, you'll have 4 elements, which are plants, of course, stones, you'll also have buildings, and you'll also have water. So it can't be called a classical Suzhou garden unless you have these 4 elements. And yeah, it's a microcosm of the natural world here. It's gorgeous.
From Suzhou's gardens to a very popular street.
So we are here on Pingjiang Street. It's one of the most popular places to visit here in Suzhou, as you can tell by the amount of people behind me here. But one thing you have to check out while you're here is something called Pingtan. It's a local singing style here of Suzhou. Let's go check it out. But it's not only singing. Pingtan also incorporates storytelling, talking, joke telling, as well as use of local instruments.
I went to a Suzhou Pingtan school in Qingzhou when I was 16. After I graduated, then I studied with a Master of Ping-Ten, and I have been playing for over 20 years.
But Suzhou's really big claim to fame is silk. Glorious silk.
I am currently wearing silk. There is a lot of silk here in Suzhou, as well as a lot of history when it comes to silk. So Suzhou is actually the silk producing capital of China, if not the world. I am draped head to toe in the most luscious silk, including this gorgeous hand embroidered fan. Check out those details. So much detail has gone into this outfit. All these little details here are just so gorgeous. This is probably the most expensive thing I have ever worn.
Key elements to the production of silk are to be found all over Suzhou, starting with forests of the silkworm's favourite mulberry trees, to a museum celebrating the silk story. One of the wooden presses here took 4 years to make one single garment.
So it has about 4,000 or 5,000 years of history, and traditionally silk was worn by emperors and the ruling classes, and that's mostly because silk was only able to be afforded by them. It was very, very expensive. So as a result, silk became this status symbol, and it wasn't long before everyone all over the world wanted a piece of it. Greg, have you ever heard of the Silk Road?
Yes, of course. And the famous Silk Road played a vital role here in Suzhou, which sent huge quantities of silk westwards to discerning European buyers. But the city has also gone on to produce some fine musical performers, as we experienced that evening in a magnificent venue known as the Master of the Net's Garden. Amy, Suzhou is transformed after sunset.
That's right, Greg. It is a completely different vibe here at night. We've got lights, it's lit up, it's so beautiful, and they've actually got a whole heap of stages set up here for performances. So we're going to be going from room to room, enjoying different styles of performances. So a lot of the performances tonight feature traditional Chinese instruments, among them the guqin. This is one of my favorites.
Eight separate stages here in the gardens tonight, all featuring different styles of music from this province. A fitting end to our time exploring the water towns and classic gardens of Jiangsu. When next we visit Jiangsu province, the Grand Canal, an engineering marvel on the scale of the Great Wall of China. Another set of terracotta warriors, the Terracotta Army of the Han Dynasty. Memories of Marco Polo. The walled city of Nanjing. On the menu, a Nanjing specialty duck and craving for crayfish. And that ends our special on the waterways of Jiangsu province. It's farewell from me and farewell from our special guest presenter, Amy Lyons.
谢谢，下次见，拜拜。